And so the classic 2D versus 3D fighting game rivalry has come to a head, but not quite in the way you'd expect. Instead, the creative minds behind Street Fighter and Tekken have joined forces in an unlikely project that strives to combine the best of both worlds. The lines of battle have been drawn in what is sure to be one of the most ambitious fighting game collaborations to date. But will Street Fighter Cross Tekken prove that some boundaries are just not meant to be violated? First, the question begs asking, just why are these Street Fighters so cross with Tekken anyway? Arcade mode, as it turns out, is more than happy to oblige an explanation. A mysterious object from the heavens has crash-landed in Antarctica, and street fighting hooligans like Ryu, for some reason or another, can't help but find out about it without roughing up a few Tekken punks like Kazuya along the way. Lucky for both of them, there are quite a few familiar faces across both sides to punch, featuring 38 of Japan's fiercest fighters, 43 if you count the PlayStation 3's crew of console exclusives. Street Fighter Cross Tekken enters the fighting game fray as a suitably beefy contender, at least where raw numbers are concerned. When it comes to extra content, the game's set of modes displays the same modesty you've seen in recent Capcom fighters, with little more outside of training, versus, and the objective-based mission mode to whet your fighting spirit. It's a good thing, then, that the game's central single-player attraction does its job relatively well, with a multitude of cinematic endings and rival cutscenes fleshing out the lore of this improbable, yet entertaining team-up. It's easy to see where some of the Tekken influence comes in, with some of the more bizarre story resolutions. One particular new feature allows players to customize the color scheme of their favorite fighters for that extra level of personalization. But with an extremely limited palette curtailed by DLC color packs down the line, it certainly raises a few questions as to why it couldn't have been more fully stocked from the get-go. And then we have the much talked about gems, stat boosting and ability enabling stones that can be equipped to confer passive bonuses during a match. On the surface level, it actually comes off as an inventive new feature, given the ability to tweak a few minor factors like speed, defense, and meter gain to your personal playstyle is comparable to tuning a race car settings to spec. But what's problematic here isn't just the distant potential for gameplay imbalance, but the fact that certain gems are only obtainable by pre-orders and DLC, which could very well factor directly into tipping the scales. Only time and playtesting by the masses will truly determine if such fears are well-founded, but as it stands, paying for power, however large or small the contribution may be, seems like an inextricable part of the game. Concerns about the equally controversial Pandora element, however, should be quelled. As outrageous of a comeback mechanic as it may seem, its actual impact on battles isn't quite as dramatic as it would have you believe.
Time over! Easy operation. You lose!
When it comes to taking the fight online, the game's features come close to what you'd expect from Street Fighter 4, with replay, lobby, and ranked match support furnishing a well-equipped network mode. One interesting new feature adds partner support, which lets pals team up in both CPU dummy and live player matches, as well as the game's insanely fun and broken 4-player scramble battle feature. Netcode performance is up to par with Arcade Edition 2012, performing admirably well with a wide spread of peers, but as always, your mileage will vary depending on the random roulette of connection bars.
Prepare for battle, soldier! Search and destroy!
恥ずかしいな。
前のかれた筋肉と溢れんばかりのカリスマが世界の胸を熱くする
Though it bears two of the genre's most famous franchises upon its mantle, Street Fighter Cross Tekken in reality leans much closer toward the Capcom end of the spectrum, with its central focus on 2D fighting. From super moves and links to the 6-button control scheme, most of the game's primary mechanics come off as familiar holdovers from Street Fighter 4's recent spin on the series. What's different here is the Tekken side of the equation, which actually has more to do with the series' subtle influence on the fighting engine than the Street Fighter-style movesets prescribed to each Iron Fist brawler. The end result is a curious amalgam of a fighting system that bends the rules of traditional Street Fighter conventions in interesting and liberating new directions. Special moves with newly concocted bounding and wall bounce properties, for one, open the floodgates for some mean aerial juggles, while chain strings endow the large majority of the cast with a particularly nasty high-low game that's cleverly characteristic of Tekken's mix-up heavy feel. The most notable cross-pollination here, however, is the idea of tagging seamlessly between your two characters at any time, a page lifted straight from the Tekken Tag Tournament playbook. From mid-combo switch cancels and chain combo tags to partner-based supers and cross-assaults, it's clear that Street Fighter Cross Tekken is a fighting game that thrives on the notion of playing a team rather than a mere set of two characters. Players are rewarded for frequently tagging in and punished for when they don't. Some of the game's most devastating setups are highly contingent on partner synergy, and rounds end when a character is KO'd, regardless of their teammates' remaining health. It's a fighting system that once again brings tag teaming to Street Fighter, all while smartly incorporating elements of 3D fighting in the process. But Street Fighter Cross Tekken's most significant accomplishment is its successful melding of the stringent feel of Street Fighter with the combo happy antics of the Versus series. More than just a remix of past games, Street Fighter Cross Tekken instead feels like a novel new approach to team-based fighters, couched within a more approachable version of the Street Fighter engine. Its open-ended take on team, gem, and combo experimentation allows this unique fighter to stand apart from both of its distinct lineages. And it's simply a blast to see characters shuffle in and out of combat during outrageous combos and dramatic switch-outs. The fact that multiple partners can partake in the 2-on-2 team battles adds a surprisingly exciting spin to the fighting as well.
I will handle this. Right. Let's pummel them.
Hey, let me take them on. I'm in the mood for some fun.
With its watercolor-inspired palette, chunky, expressive geometry, and liquid-smooth animations, Street Fighter Cross Tekken's incremental revision of Street Fighter 4's style may seem slight, but it's still a long way from looking bland or dated in 2012. The game's art department has definitely done its due diligence in transcribing Team Tekken's iconic personalities into the series' standardized look, not to mention producing some of the most vibrant background stages in recent memory. The Pandora Mammoth hovercraft level stands out in particular. The music also boasts some notable flashes of inspiration, borrowing heavily from the Tekken series swath of techno, trance, and rock tracks. The only downside is that the excellent sound production doesn't quite carry over into the online space. On both the PS3 and 360 versions of the game, we experienced some noticeable issues with sound effects dipping in and out during matches. We encountered no such glitches in offline play, so we're hoping that this will be fixed sooner than later. Despite a confluence of uncertainty and doubt, Street Fighter Cross Tekken stands tall as a worthy fighter that ultimately succeeds in bringing the next step in Street Fighter's ongoing evolution. Though it certainly isn't for everyone. It has little to offer fighting game fans bridled with brand fatigue, and even less to Tekken players still wary of polarizing mechanics and the tricky jump to 2D. But in terms of keeping pace with innovation and bringing something new to the table, Street Fighter Cross Tekken duly makes the effort worth the while.
I bet you taste delicious.